Everybody. And we're live. Hey everybody, how's it going today? It's a big old Monday. Hi everybody, my name's Mike Meyers, and this is Mike Meyers Monday, Wednesday, Central Standard Time. Ask Mike Anything live stream. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies for CompTIA certifications, in particular A+, Net Plus, and Security Plus. The way this works is pretty simple. All you have to do is ask me questions here in the chat window, and I will answer them for you. And if I don't know the answer, we've got a cast of thousands around here to help us out. We've got Scott Jernigan. I'm assuming Scott's with me. Scott, are you with me today, brother? Sure he is. Let's see who's on. We got Scott Jernigan. We got Dave Rush, who work total with me, along with the usual rogues gallery of regulars. Always fun to see you guys here. What do we got going today? So anyway, the secret to this live stream is that you just ask me anything you want. Let's avoid religion, politics, and intimate things. But other than that, I'm pretty much up for it. You do it by typing them into the chat, or if you want to, you can also send me emails. Let me bring that up for you guys. So here's my contact information. I'm michaelm@totalsem.com. So you can just send me an email, particularly for a question, if you think your question's dumb, which it isn't, or if you have a more involved question, well, this is the place to just send me an email and we will check it out. So you're welcome to do that. Also, by the way, if you're a gamer, I am Senor Pepe on Steam, and I'm Desweds on just about everything else. DESWEDS. All you have to do is go to your keyboard and type Desweds, and you'll see where that came from. It is a kinetic acronym. Yep, I'm a nerd. So anyway, it's a lighter day today. We're just going to be looking for questions. For some reason, let me make sure I'm not a liar here. One moment, please. I bought a new phone last week, and I can't get Microsoft Teams to work, which is a little bit irritating. And if I don't have Teams working, sometimes it's hard for me to... Oh! I've got a lot of email from you guys, and I have not been checking my email, so let's do it live. We're going to do it live! All right, first of all, I got an email from Robert Abernathy over at CyberVista. Yay! Robert Abernathy will be joining us. Robert Abernathy works for CyberVista, which is what used to be Transcender. She is actually a competitor of mine. Wonderful gal, super sharp, and she has thrown out a number of dates starting November 23rd through almost Christmas. So I'm very excited that Robin Abernathy is coming. And she's talking about coming down to physically visit, which would be even more fun. So we'll see what happens. I literally just saw this email as I'm reading while I'm looking at you guys at the same time. She has a lot of ideas. Some are good, some are okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading the emails that I should have read before we started this session. So let me go through real quick. There's no names. Okay, so this person is asking about, okay, Mike, where do I get troubleshooting scenarios for the 1002 exam? Well, to be honest, in my opinion, there aren't really any troubleshooting questions on A+. They kind of sound troubleshooty, but did I just invent a new word? Did I just invent the word troubleshooty? I think I did. The questions are usually more of an identifier type of thing than anything else. In the real world, when you're troubleshooting any given system, 90% of the time, I have no clue when I immediately see some type of symptom that I know what it is. Maybe a little bit better than that. But what I can do is I can go into the system based on some of the error cues that I'm seeing and begin to narrow it down. The CompTIA questions are all kind of already kind of pre-narrowed down for you, and makes them, in my opinion, very simplistic. The problem with CompTIA troubleshooting type questions is that they're big, long, drawn-out questions. And it'd be like a big paragraph of questions. The reality is that most of that you don't need. Usually there's just one or two sentences that really define what the whole thing's about. And so you're in pretty good shape like that. So how do you find troubleshooting stuff? Well, you don't. At Total Seminars, we certainly have some practice questions that are more in the troubleshooting, but really I'm trying to mimic the look and feel of CompTIA style troubleshooting questions. So I would say, okay, here's your quick answer. I don't know if this person is on. Doubt it. Because you use different names on YouTube anyway. So the answer is using my practice questions, I think you'd be in good shape. Read another question. People trying to sell me stuff. Nope. Just looking for questions here, guys. I love it when people send me blank emails. Nice statement from somebody telling me I changed their life. Jeez. You guys. Asking for a print. Okay, we're looking for questions here, folks. Questions. Compliments to Mike. Nice. Oh my gosh, somebody failed the Core 1 with a score of 655. Yipre! All right, not running into too many. No. Okay, guys, I think we've got them all pretty much covered here. Falak last week on Tuesday. I think we already congratulated on that one. So, all right. So I'm already back to last week's emails. So I think we can go shape. Sorry about that, guys. I should have had that done beforehand. But I wanted to make sure there weren't any fires burning in there. So we got those covered. All right. Email's done. Yeah, Teams is driving me crazy. So every time I try to start Teams, I get this window, and then it fails like this, and then it says sign in. So here, I hit sign in, and it goes invalid account, but I didn't sign in. And then it has this little thing that says get help with signing in. It takes me to a web page that does nothing for me. God, Microsoft. They've been doing this for 30 years, you know. Why? They could do better. All right, let's see what we got going here, kids. Questions. All right, sorry, guys. I need to get through all that stuff. How are we doing on time? It's only 2:08. We're doing great. Okay, so remember, here's the rule set for today. We start at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time here in Central United States, and we will run till 4 o'clock Central Standard Time here in the United States, or until all the questions run out. So you have a choice here. You can keep asking me questions, or sometimes we quit a little early. We've been known to even run a little long sometimes, but do keep in mind, remember the goal of this is to help you, okay? And that's what I'm here for. And so do keep that in mind. Also, speaking of helping you guys, we have our usual weekly deal going. This week we have the special deals, 50% off all of the A+ and Net Plus Total Tester and Total Tester in the simulation bundles. So not the simulation by themselves. It's going to be the A+ and Net Plus practice questions. What we call it the Total Tester. That's our practice questions. And the Total Tester Sims bundles. And then the Security Plus, just the Total Tester. And the code is NOV192020. So all you got to do is go to www.totalsim.com, and head over to our merchant area and get all this fat loot. And then when it's time to check out, use NOV192020. And I'm sure Scott Jernigan's already posted that up there for you guys. NOV192020. That's a long one. Dial 1-800-999-61199. 5199725. Hey, anybody catch that reference? I'll be very impressed. All right, let's see how we're doing on questions here. Okay, Sunny and Mango. That's a new face. 30 minutes early. Look at you guys. Armix, NFAK. All the usual suspects are here. Ulysses Ferrer, Elbow, Brendan S., Andre, Alan, Duggan. Yeah, I had a pulled pork sandwich for lunch. It was like, everybody's saying hi, 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 hi. Alice is here early again. Alice, you're spoiling us. Axe is here. Project Draven. All right, y'all are just chitter-chattering away. Scott, I do have Teams running on my desktop, just not on my phone. All right. Got to be some questions in here. Am I just missing them? 202. Just digging up questions, guys. Sorry. Sometimes it's hard for me to find them. Why don't we use only MAC address in LAN? Okay. Actually, Edward, or is it Edward? If you go back 30 years ago, that's all we did. If you had a LAN, the only thing you needed was a MAC address, right? If you think about that, you know, there's certain rule sets. Microsoft didn't like to have more than 30 computers on a LAN, and you absolutely could run. The early versions of Windows all ran using a protocol called NetBIOS NetBEUI. There was no IP addressing in this, and it leaned exclusively on the MAC address. The problem is if you only use physical addresses to address a LAN, you can get away with that. But certain things have to happen if you're going to just use physical addresses. Number one, you're going to be doing a lot of not ARPing. Oops, that would be a lie. You can't resolve IP addresses to MAC addresses. You do a lot of broadcasting because in the Microsoft way of doing things, you use the computer name. So you kind of have something kind of like an ARP, but instead of resolving IP addresses to MAC addresses, it resolves the NetBIOS name to a MAC address. And that's very convenient. Like if you're going into network, or back then it was probably called My Network Places, you didn't want to see a list of MAC addresses. You want to see icons that say Bob's computer and printer and stuff like that. So NetBIOS had that ability to make that form of resolution. The problem you run into if you're just going to use MAC addresses is when you start scaling the network up and up and up and up. So for example, let's say we have 5,000 computers, okay, which compared to the internet, that's a pretty trivial amount. But what would happen is that since all of these computers would have to be on the same broadcast domain, can't be any routers. MAC addresses don't have any way to route. There's no way to organize MAC addresses to say, well, these MAC addresses come over here, and then these MAC addresses go over there, right? MAC addresses are arbitrary. They're based on the person who you bought the NIC from. So without that organization, we would basically have to broadcast to everybody to figure out other people's MAC addresses. And that would create the biggest broadcast domain you ever saw. and it simply wouldn't work. So what makes a software address, like an IP address, good is that, number one, it allows us to segment our large networks up into subnetworks, each one with its own unique network identifier. And it allows these things called routers to work. Routers can't use MAC addresses. It just doesn't go that way. So in essence, what you have is you have an IP packet that's inside an Ethernet frame, and you have to have the IP address so that you can use routers. So you don't have IP address, you don't have routers, my friend, or vice versa. So that's the big difference, and it's because of IP addressing we can have very, very, very large networks that are segmented with these things called routers, and the internet can function. Without it, we couldn't have it. Okay, man, thank goodness Scott Jernigan is on there, on the job today. Sorry, guys, I'm beeping like crazy again. Is this Scott Jernigan trying to get a hold of me? Nope, this is Scott Jernigan and Kathy Yale talking about something. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. Sorry, guys, I never know when Scott or somebody's trying to get to me through a phone. Okay, anyway, so where's my next question? Armix NFAK, you are the best computer principal teacher who I have seen. Thank you very much for your efforts. Aw, keep going. Thank you very much. I guess I've missed a question. Something about indicators of compromise? What do we want to talk about indicators of compromise? Indicators of compromise are the things that we look at to know that our particular, usually we think about this more commonly in terms of individual systems, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. That lets us know something bad's happened. So an indicator of compromise can be trivial. What if you have a configuration file whose date is in the future? That could be a problem. Or what if we have seriously corrupted databases? Index files for a database would be corrupted. What if we suddenly see a bunch of users that we didn't recognize before that are suddenly there? What if we saw logs that showed something happened? That's the big thing with an indicator of compromise when we're talking about IT security, is that it's showing us something that has happened. It's a past tense kind of a thing. Unlike real-time monitoring, an indicator of compromise is more of a forensic tool where we're going in and looking at it and goes, what's happened to this system? So that's about as far as indicators of compromise goes on Security Plus. I can't, 204 question from Armix NFAK. Okay, let me see. I can't find the question, and Scott's helping me. There it is. Can you please describe about indicators of compromise in Security Plus? Fine, I just did. Anything that you can look on a system and look at it forensically and say something naughty has happened here would be an indicator of compromise. Andre at 206, CompTIA question reading. Find the two lines which are the question and throw the rest away as useless. That's very much true. Mainly on more like the troubleshooting type questions, but that is a big deal. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll make these bigger questions, not so much that it's useless per se, but you want to avoid those weird people who will say, 2 plus 2 can equal 4. Wait, 2 plus, God, blew my own joke. That is sad. 2 plus 2 can equal 5 for very large values of 2. So they'll usually put little extra bits in there to keep you from getting weird on the question, because remember, the number one reason people fail CompTIA exams is test anxiety. The number 2 reason people fail CompTIA exams is that they know too much. Only the number 3 reason is that they haven't studied enough. Do keep in mind, guys, when you put @ in there to talk to somebody else, I scroll past them very, very quickly, which is fine. You're welcome to chat among each other. Armix again. Can I encrypt an email with one certification and put electric signature with the other certification? Oh, let me rephrase this, Armix. Can I encrypt an email with one certificate and then do an electronic signature with another certificate? I've never heard of that being done, and it would seem to me to be not a smart thing to do. We would use the same certificate exchange classically in an email to not only to sign the document, but also to handle the, it's not really so much encryption, it's really more of the authentication side of things. Could you do it? Sure. Is there any protocol suite that I've ever seen in 40 some odd years of jacking with email that would do that? No. Wow. Hang on, I got to do some math here for a minute. 1980. Wow. I've been at this, some type of computation stuff, for almost 40 years. I just don't feel that old. Holy smoke. Boy, you're going to talk about staring at your morality. Staring at your mortality. Morality. Yeah, that was compromised a long time ago. Elbow, that fold phone looks so nice. No, I've already shattered it. Yeah, I've already dropped it once. It's all cracked up on one side. Screens are okay, though. It is pretty, though, isn't it? You're for Raymond. Is that the Surface phone, Mike? No. No, this is the Galaxy Fold Z2. I had the original Galaxy Fold, and I busted it, and I went to get it fixed, and they gave me an amazing trade-in deal, like a ridiculous good deal for the trade-in to just get the newer phone. So I took it. I got to tell you, you know what the biggest problem with these foldable phones is? You can't get a good bumper for it. No, they just don't sell enough. It's not like, going there with your Pixel 5 and they've got 1,000 cool bumpers, OtterBoxes and stuff like that. Nope, nothing like that. But so it's not the Surface phone. I had looked at the Surface phone, but the Surface phone is really just two separate displays, and I wouldn't want that. Alan Dugan. Hey, Mike, what's the purpose of having the Passport, A+, Net+, and Secure? Okay, so what happens is when a new test comes out, I basically just write a manuscript. And that manuscript gets broken up into two big things, which is going to be our trade books and then our instructional books. Let me... Oh, here we go. Well, it doesn't matter here. All right. So what'll happen is that we'll make these what we call the trade books. Trade books are really designed more for people who are doing self-study. Then what we'll do is we do what we call educational books. And it's really the same verbiage. Now, the educational book adds a lot more into chapter stuff. It has practice questions built in, which Scott, can people get those practice questions? The only way you can get them is if you're an instructor. So I like these books because they're more colorful, but you probably want to go with these books. Now, there is a third kind of book. There we go. So this third book is a passport. Now, the passport's basically a cram book more than anything else. I would not want you reading this book on any particular topic unless you already had a pretty good solid understanding of the technology. So these books are very much cut down. People may reference my manuscript that makes the big books. Sometimes they don't. But it's a cram book. I like them. I have no issue with them other than it doesn't go into a lot of my wonderful instruction and stuff like that that really, well, I think makes it more fun, to be honest with you. And so that's the difference. If you know your stuff, grab a passport book. Otherwise, go with the bigger books. The bigger books are more fun to read too, I think. I slept like a baby last night. I have no idea. Axe, that was me. I totally choked on the performance-based questions. Well, the problem, there's a lot of issues with the performance-based questions on CompTIA. Number one, they're weird. And it's not uncommon to spend a couple of minutes just trying to go, what they want me to click over. You know, here's the diagram, and you got to take a minute to get yourself kind of organized on the question and understand where they're trying to go with it. That's number one. Number two, you have to be really comfortable clicking around the diagrams. A lot of times it's not super obvious where CompTIA wants you to click. You know, here's a network diagram that consists of a router, 2 switches, 2 servers, a laptop, and a wireless access port. And sometimes you have to figure out, you know, based on what the question's asking you, are they talking IP type questions, talking port/protocol questions, stuff like that. So being comfortable clicking around in it is the other thing. And then the last one is that you have to be careful because we're still not even sure if there's partial credit on performance-based questions. Right now, the attitude over at Total Seminars is that there is some kind of partial, but that will change on almost a weekly basis sometimes. So especially if you get a performance-based question where it's building one after the other, like question A leads to question B, which leads to question C, on those, we're just assuming you're going to get partial credit. And we've tried to do things on the exams to be able to get those types of answers, and we're still a little bit confused. The other big thing about performance-based questions is that statistically, from what we can tell, if you do halfway well on the multiple choice questions, you don't even have to do the performance-based questions. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that. You should give them all your best shot. And a lot of times the performance-based questions are shockingly simple if you give them some time to figure them out. And okay, here's the last thing I'm going to say. The other big thing on performance-based questions is because they're usually put right at the very beginning of the test, people spend way too much time on them, way too much time. You know, give them a couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes each, maybe 5, depending on how many you have, and then get on to the multiple choice questions. Scott Jernigan, what is your opinion this week? Are the performance-based questions partial credit or not? So far I've been saying it's been no, but now I've been hearing yes, so it keeps going back and forth on this. Looking for her questions. Staring at your new morality, new t-shirt. Nobody appreciates Scott Jernigan's sense of humor as much as he does. Mark Wheeler, here's a new name, or is it a name I don't remember? Tried to install Ubuntu 20.10 on my VirtualBox on a MacBook. Mark, I just don't do any of this stuff on Macs. The only thing, I tried to install Ubuntu 20.10. Is that their LTS is up to 20.10? On my VirtualBox on a Mac, When I boot it, it says finish checking for errors, and the screen turns black, shuts off, and says the status of my VM is aborted. Yeah. Mark, I don't have the answers to that one, buddy. I'm sorry. Watch this. VirtualBox, mass. VM is aborted. Let me Google that for you. I do some quick searches, and there's a number of slightly painful configurations that you have to do within a Mac. I have never, ever run a virtual machine in a Mac. I haven't even run a Mac since, I don't know, it's been years. I'm not against Macs. I'm just more comfortable with Windows/Linux boxes. So sorry, Mark, I'm not able to help you on that one. Okay, so 2:18 p.m. Edward Ibakian. Does IPS also do the function of IDS? Does intrusion protection also do the function of intrusion detection? Because you said that IDS detects and IPS detects and also prevents. Yes, it does. Yes. I always get nervous. I make a big answer like this, and suddenly I see Scott Jernigan is typing. Hope I didn't lie. I missed a question. Thank you, Scott. 2:15. I did miss it. Sorry. Okay. Krampus Dumpling. What a name. I love that. Hey, Mike, is there anything during your career that you wish you did, like go more into programming or write your first book sooner? Nah, there's probably a couple of monetary business decisions I could have done better, but no, generally, I'm pretty happy with the arc that I've had. Taught all over the world. And I'm a teacher first and foremost. And I'm also a tech. No, I like it. Should I have written? No, I wrote the book when it needed to be written. It came out perfect. Oh, goodness, I missed other questions. Brendan S. Hey, Mike. 2:15 p.m. Hey, Mike, does NetView still work if we don't have work groups in Windows anymore? Yes, NetView will certainly work. Absolutely. God, you terrify me when you say questions like that. Why would NetView not work? Because you think like in a domain it doesn't work? Or it used to. I'm just running it real quick here to see what happens. Yeah, it seems to be running fine to me. It's a fully updated Windows 10 Professional. It is in a work group though. I've run NetView on domains zillions of times. It works. Scott, I'm actually scrolling backwards here because I've clearly missed a few. Did you let Scott buy parts for the Threadripper PC? Thanks, Project Drake. That's Matt, right? Thanks for reminding Scott. He's going to be hitting me up for a $1,800 CPU and a $400 motherboard. 2:16, the end. Counter-Strike Go? Yeah, I'll play Counter-Strike Go. 2:16 p.m. Armix NFAK. We must delete TCP/IP protocol stacks and build a new protocol stack on basis of Mac. There you go, bud. You don't have to. It's already in existence. Look up what was the old Apple Talk or NetBEUI, NetBIOS, or the most of the LAN operating systems back in the 80s before TCP/IP kicked in were all Mac-based. So you're there. In fact, if you really want to get cool, Armix, there's an old protocol called IPX-SPX that used to run on a type of software called Novell NetWare, and that was even routable. I'm scrolling backwards again more because Scott's typing all these questions and I missed. I don't want to miss any. You guys were trying to set up your machines. Andre didn't have enough RAM. Tell you guys, you need a lot of RAM. It's the biggest mistake. In fact, if you're taking A+, that's going to be a question. I'm going to here's a core machine. Now, if you wanted to do virtual machines, what's the number one thing you want to add? And stuff like that. RAM. All right, I think I got them all, Scott. I'm going to scroll forward now. Project Draven's setting up his own system so he can play with the command line interface. Honestly, yeah, I guess there's some stuff, delete star.star, things like that, format C, DD back onto yourself. Probably not the worst idea, Matt. Project Draven, your name's Matt, right? Did I get that right? I did, didn't I? Yeah, I got that. Nobody got my dial 1-800-999-61199. The IT crowd, people, come on. Y'all are just chatting among yourselves. I feel like I'm not part of this conversation. Edward, one more question, please. Edward, ask all the questions you want, dude. That's literally why I am here. Guys, did you catch anybody you were looking to take advantage of our 50% deal? Scott typed in the wrong code. It is NOV 09-2020. Got that? Okay. All right. Well, I'd almost want to see, we've got some Mac machines. I could grab one and start doing VirtualBox on the Macs. It literally would be the thing that would save Macs for me. I like Mac computers, okay? I have no problem with Macs. My first smartphone was an iPhone, although I got smart. We've got, just trying to get a hold of something. The problem, our building actually hosts a medical taking care of old people facility, and they're so paranoid that we're going through all this extra security just to be able to walk in our building. Where all the extra Mac computers are that I could steal. Can you imagine Michael Smyer coming back and finding that his beautiful tricked out Mac desktop system is over at my house. We won't do that. I do need a child-proof phone. There's no doubt about that. Mark Wheeler, I've installed Ubuntu on my MacBook previously and had no problem. I've never tried the Raspberry Pi and don't have any at the moment, unfortunately. I got to tell you, and I am wearing pants, I got to tell you guys, in general, when I have failed installs on virtual machines, I'm always very concerned about the quality of the download, particularly of ISOs. Because let's face it, how many of us really actually run the hash on our ISO to make sure they're not corrupted? I mean, I don't. I know I should. Ubuntu's very good about handing you an ISO and then giving you the MD5 or the SHA-1 hash so you can double check it, but I never do. So a lot of times if I get an error, especially if the error is pretty much the same every time, I'll just download another ISO just to play it safe. Tola was worried I was in yoga pants. Tola, you couldn't handle me in yoga pants, baby. U4 Raymond, 2:26 p.m. Question: with an 8-port switch for EG and a hub, oh God, why do we do this? Hubs don't exist anymore, but okay, let's see what's happening. 8-port switch or EG, I don't know what EG stands for example, and a hub is connected to, for example, okay, and a hub is connected to one port and the PCs to all the others. Do you have, oh Lord, do you have 8 collision domains or 9? I have an 8-port switch. On one of the ports is an old school hub, and there's probably some computers hooked to that hub. And there's PCs plugged in the other 7 ports. Do you have 8 collision domains or 9? I would say you have 8. Scott Jernigan just texted, hubs don't exist, let it go. Yeah, it's still an interesting question, Scott. Project Raven, skip all performance-based questions till the end. No, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I'd go ahead and do them up front, but just watch your timing. Don't let yourself get bogged down. And if you're feeling bogged down, just check it. You can come back to it later. You know, get through all your easy questions first. Now, come on, guys. Here. All right, let's make sure we understand how to do this. How to take a multiple choice test. You go through the test at least 3 times. The first time you go through, you do all the, I call them candy bar questions. They're just easy questions. First swipe through multiple choice. Do all your easy questions, okay? Second swipe through. Go through and probably of the questions you don't have an instant answer to, you probably, of those, 80 to 90% of them, you can dial it down to 2 potential answers. So the second sweep through, you get those. And then on the third sweep, that's when you're just kind of going for it. You should always try to answer all the questions on a CompTIA exam. It is my understanding that you are graded negatively for any unanswered ones. They don't skip questions. If you don't answer A, no, I don't even want to get into that. You need to answer all the questions. So it's always 3 swipes through. In terms of the performance-based, I would treat them the same. Do the easy performance-based, then do all the easy multiple choice. Go through the performance-based one more time. Hopefully you've got to keep in mind, on most of these exams, you might have as few as 2 performance-based questions. Sometimes you might have as many as 5. Nobody can tell you what it's going to be. So you go through, you hit the 50-50s. And then last, you just go through and try to hit them as hard as you can, the ones where you're guessing. God, Elbow, you're on a roll. All right. Just looking for questions. Ah, dang. Krampus Dumpling. Have you ever played Among Us? I tried playing it one time. You guys are going to laugh at me. Let me show you the game the more casual game I'm playing. You guys are going to tease me mercilessly. Hang on. Does anybody recognize this game? let me warn you, it's extremely popular. Let me get the image so you can actually see it. That game look familiar to anybody? It's called Merge Dragons. It's been around 7 or 8 years. I know it's stupid. I'm playing Merge Dragons. I should play Among Us. I started playing Among Us, and fairly recently when my old fold died, so I haven't really had a chance to come back to it. But I'll tell you what, Krampus, I'll give it another shot. Ulysses Pals, 2:40 p.m. I want to become a sysadmin. What skills are needed to become an amazing sysadmin? Patience, organization, and a basic understanding of what the hell's going on underneath your systems. A sysadmin is usually also going to be very operating specific. So usually in a bigger organization, you'll have the Windows sysadmins and then the Linux sysadmins kind of a thing. They tend to be separate, although if your skill sets are good there. Ulysses, get an A+ and a Net+. And that would give you the core stuff you need. Oh, I skipped again. I'm so sorry, guys. As I'm scrolling through the chat window, it's really choppy today, and I apologize. Scott Jernigan is very much on point. Thank you, Scott. Charlie Steffens, hi, Mike. Curious if you could suggest anything for my problem. What you want to do is get some Vicks Vapor. I'm kidding. I can ping loopback on my desktop, but I can't ping my router. I can use the same cable on my laptop and ping the router. Okay, so Charlie, you got to be real careful about stuff like this. First of all, you did the right thing. If you test a piece of equipment in multiple ways, so you know that you can eliminate that. So I can see you wrote that it's not the cable. Great. That's a very smart thing to do. Well done, sir. Busted cables drive people insane, and it's not something we look for. We just assume they always work, and they're not. The fact that you're plugging this into a laptop definitely gives me a big, big red flag. And RJ45 ports on laptops are horribly abused. Like with my big desktop system here, I've plugged that thing in 5 months ago, and I haven't touched it. RJ45 connections, if you look at the actual, not the plug, but the jack, the hole, the female part, you've got 8 little tiny wires. And these wires get pushed down by the jack as it's being inserted. And on laptops, these tend to be very fragile, and you can run into a lot of problems with that. You're being deceived a little bit because you're saying, well, Mike, I can loop back my NIC. Most NICs, especially the cheap built-in ones that come on desktops and laptops, don't do a true loopback, not in the true sense of the word. They basically loop back within themselves. They don't actually test anything. And they're almost completely useless. So the old ping 127.0.0.1 doesn't really work. It does work on better network cards, but you'll usually have an extra applet that comes in your control panel, or it might be sitting in your system tray. It'll say like Intel or something like that, and it brings up a bunch of very powerful tools that allow you to really diagnose a network card. So my quick guess, without knowing anything else, is I would be worried about the quality of the connection inside the laptop. And unfortunately, I'm unaware of any easy way to test that. So, and then the other thing is if you take this cable and you plug, what was the phrasing you used? Plug it into my desktop. I can ping loopback on my desktop, but I can't ping my router. I can use the same cable on my laptop. Oh, God, literally what I just said is opposite then. Desktop network cards, or the motherboard network cards, tend to be a little bit more robust. So erase what I just said. Sorry, man. I got it backwards in my head. I apologize. Man, Charlie, this is one of these things where I want to ask you, okay, here's a couple of things you need to do real quick, Charlie. Number one, are you on the internet with this machine that you can't ping your router? Number two, can you ping anybody else? Number three, when you run ipconfig, are you getting a legitimate IP address? So those would be some of the things I'd be asking you up front. But no, yeah, there's nothing super obvious. And I'd even give that cable a triple check. I don't have it on me, but I keep a cable tester even here in the house just to be really, really sure it's not the cable. Also, you got to be very careful about other little things. Like, for example, is it really an old desktop? Is it really old? And it could have problems that you're running true gigabit and this thing's only capable of 100 megabit. I don't trust switches to be able to, and I know they're multi-speed, but I really hate doing that, where you take a switch that it's 10, 100 and gigabit and ask it to hold buffers for something that is, 2 to the second power faster than another device. Even switches can't really do that over time. So those would be the things I'd look at. Since it's a desktop system, I'd be tempted, because it doesn't cost that much. You can get a really nice network card for about 35 bucks. And that would be something else I'd be looking at too. But, did you run ipconfig? Do you have a legitimate IP address? I mean, let's jump through the big ones. 240. Zerxic, I just bought a first gen PSV. Oh God, you're going to talk about virtual reality. Scott, save me. 2:41 p.m. Zerxic's asking about PSVR and newer VR systems. I'm not a big fan of virtual reality, to be honest with you. It's kind of fun to do a little bit. Kathy Yale of our office was all excited about a particular PSVR. We are talking about virtual reality here, right? Scott Jernigan, save me. What does PSVR stand for? Don't make me look up acronyms, you guys. God dang it. PlayStation? Oh, it is. Oh, okay. I am sorry. I do not speak console at all. The last console I owned was an Atari 2600. Seriously. So I am Zerxix. I'm unfamiliar with it, and of course, since it's not on the CompTIA, I can sit there and go, I don't know. Connor Dulashaw, 242. CCNA versus Net Plus. Both. Start with Net Plus and then take your CCNA. I always tell everybody, is it Connor? Connor. I always tell everybody that the Net Plus is the most important certification you'll never need. You just don't see a lot of jobs that say must be CompTIA Net Plus certified. Of course, every time I say that, there's people like, I went on Indeed.com and found it. Okay, whatever. What the CompTIA Network Plus does, that is fantastic, is that it forces you to understand a lot of the protocols and underpinnings of networking from a vendor-neutral point of view. Even the CompTIA Net Plus is a little biased towards Cisco. It's a Cisco world, whatever. Me and Scott got into a big argument just last week when we were talking about, what was it, Scott? Port mirroring versus port scanning. And, I've always treated those as more or less synonymous terms, but port scanning is really more of a Cisco term. Anyway, I'm digressing. I don't mean to do that. Take the Net Plus so you understand all this stuff, and then if you want to go Microsoft or if you want to go Cisco or wherever else you want to go, and you start getting all these proprietary terms and thoughts, it doesn't confuse you as much. And it's to me, the Network Plus is an incredibly, incredibly important certification. Look, guys, I can write books on any certification I want, anything. And I think Net Plus is the most important. It's more important than A Plus. It's more important than Cisco. It is literally the certification that will make you go, aha, that's what that is. And I can't recommend it enough. I think, Connor, Cisco, the Cisco certification pathway is a great way to go. It'll keep you employed. But do Net Plus first, then take your Cisco route. Or any other route you want. But they're not either or. It's one before the other. Sam Udrayat is asking the same question. Krampus Dumpling. As soon as I hear hub, I think broadcast storm and throw it in the garbage. I know Scott Jernigan's going to hate this, but I do have a hub. I have a 100 base TX hub. It's ancient. But if I don't want to do port mirroring or anything like that for a maintenance port, it can be a wonderfully easy way to do a quick plug-in on the upstream. Like if I want to monitor my incoming, outgoing traffic on a network, yes, I can use with the proper type of switch. I can set up a port mirror and monitor the traffic. I want to bring it all into Wireshark, right? But with my hub, I just plug something in. Now, keep in mind that hub is only doing one thing. There's one plug in the hub that's going out to my ISP's modem, and then there's another one that comes in to my gateway router, and it sits in there between them. And it's just like a little tap. That's all. It's really just a tap. Jason Primavera. Hey, Mike, I just passed both A-plus exams today. All right. Big round of applause to you, Jason. Congratulations, sir. Well done. I want to see some more of you guys pass it. I haven't heard much passing stuff lately. Well done, sir. What time is it? How are we doing? I'm usually my usual about 10 minutes behind the questions. I'm not complaining. Sam, you got one down and one to go. Do it. Do it. So we have an Oculus at Total Seminars. It's the wired Oculus, the Rift. Scott, help me out here. Is it Rift? But it's a little over 2 years old, which in VR seems to be ancient. What is? I can't. Is it here? Kathy Yale, our head of marketing, is a big VR nut. And she was just telling me about, I can't find it. Scott, which is the VR system that Kathy Yale is all excited about? Well, I found it. Kathy Yale is saying that she likes the Oculus Quest. It's not quite the resolution of the Oculus 2, but it has finger control, so instead of just using the controllers, she likes the Quest, but the 2 is a little bit lighter, has more RAM and better resolution. There you go. That's one person's opinion. Oh, thank you, Scott. We have the HTC Vive Pro. Yes. Thank you, Scott. I forgot. It's like I tell the IRS every year, I forgot. So irritating the way this thing's scrolling on me today. Barely passed the second one, Jason? Okay. Jason, do me a favor. Jason Primavera, send me an email. You cannot, okay, hang on. CompTIA gets very upset if you quote actual questions from CompTIA exams, okay? And if you read all that NDA stuff you sign at the beginning of a test, they're pretty serious about that. However, Jason Primavera, we can talk about topics. We can't talk about individual questions. And you can't talk about topics in such a way that you're really talking about individual questions. But I've spoken to CompTIA many, many times over the decades, and they have no problem with people talking about topics. They recognize that sometimes a particular objective may not be quite as clear as you want it to be. And so many, many times I've got assurance from CompTIA that you can talk about topics. So with that attitude in mind, topics, Jason Primavera, send me an email. Give me a couple of topics that kind of blew your mind a little bit or something like that. I would like to hear about that. I took that off too fast. Michael M. at totalsem.com. Jason Primavera needs practice tests, huh? Edward again. Is there a specialized network security course? There are thousands of network security courses. The one that we support is, or the ones we support are the series of courses that support training for the CompTIA Security Plus, CYSA Plus, or CSA Plus, and the, oh God, Scott, help me out. Which one am I forgetting? CASP. So these are 3 security courses that CompTIA provides testing for, and we provide training materials for those 3. In Cisco alone, there's probably 7 or 8 security courses, but that has to do with Cisco stuff. Microsoft has security courses. Certified Wireless Network Professional has security courses. So you're saying it a little too broadly for me. There are most certainly lots of specialized network security courses. Yes. Mike, how is dynamic DNS secured? By the connected device password configurations? No, it's almost all certificates, dude. That's right. For a DNS server to be DNSSEC, it needs a certificate. I guess technically it could be done other ways, but I've never seen it done any other way. Sam, Mike, are you sure you know what you're doing? No, I'm never sure I know what I'm doing. Jason Primavera, definitely study printer network configuration. Absolutely, very important. Wireless login protocols. Thank you very much. Oh, missed one, huh? 2:33 p.m. Jason Wareham. Hey, Mike, passed my first ever certification today. EJPT. Very good. And I'm very close to being test ready for Network Plus. With the new Security Plus, here it comes. With the new Security Plus coming out soon, when will study books become available for it? They're available now because you're going to take the old exam. Let me make sure I got this name right. Sorry, you guys, you have to hear me do it again. James, listen. Always take the old exam. The old Security Plus, the SY0501, is going to be good till at least next July, and they might even extend that. So you've got about a 8-month window where the old test is good. This test has been around for almost 3 years, dude. We've changed videos. We've updated practice questions. I can't change books, but we've tweaked it as we begin to understand what's on the exam to provide better topicality. When the new test comes out, I don't have anything that you guys don't have. I get it sooner and I have to sign an NDA, but I don't have any particular deep insight of what is on the exam. So when a new test comes out, you never take a new test. This isn't just for CompTIA. This is for anything. any IT certification course. Never take the new exam. Nobody cares what Security Plus you took in an interview. You're never going to be asked that question, okay? So don't sweat it. Nobody's even going to ask your grade either, for the record. Nobody cares. It's D for diploma. So you never worry about that either. But you always take the old exam whenever possible. Holy smoke. That's a big one, guys. Always take the old exam. Let's say that again together. Always take the old exam. Now you're talking. We are working very, very quickly on the Security Plus training materials. They'll be out shortly. Jason's saying that there's a ton on virus and spyware. Okay, good. Very, very helpful stuff. CCNA versus Net Plus. Connor, did you write that in a second time? Or, okay, I'm just going to assume you typed that in twice, which is a good idea. If I miss a question, typing it in a second time is always a smart idea. X is out the door. See ya. How are we doing on time? 3:06. That would be an interesting thing to do, Tolowit, for the person who was having trouble with the NIC. And you get a USB to Ethernet device, and that would be a good way to get the hardware out of the picture. It's an excellent idea, Tolowit. Thank you. Okay, Andre, I see it. You're on dynamic DNS. Jason Primavera. Hey, Mike, which authentication protocol uses a rotating 4-key login? Is that WEP? Yes, it's WEP. Oh, God, Jason, please tell me that you didn't. And you can't answer this question out loud. Please tell me you didn't see that question on A+. Please. Mr. Adaloro, my temporary files have been taking like 11 hours to delete. I restarted the computer, the problem persists. That's easy. Put it into, God, I always want to call it safe mode. It's not safe mode anymore. Number one, make sure you have a Windows system restore disk, because that's going to have a Windows repair environment on there. You can make one on any thumb drive. It's built into Windows. Don't ask me exactly where to make it's a system restore disk. Pretty sure I got the terminology right. That's the number one thing. You have to have one of those. Make sure you have one of those. Go ahead and go into the repair, and I just don't have these memorized. It's the option that pulls the menu up, and it basically puts you into safe mode. What's happening here, because it's taking so long, is you've got something that's trying to write in it while you're trying to delete to it. And you're going to have to go into, just call it safe mode, because I can't think what the right term is. Scott, what do we call safe mode in Windows 10 now? Can't remember the proper term. One of you geniuses know the answer off the top of my head. But then go ahead and then do a disk cleanup that way, and you'll be fine. Or honestly, if you want to, just go in and go into your temp folder and delete it. Hold on, Scott Jernigan's typing a good answer for me. That is so funny. It's been over a year since I've actually had to go through the repair install methodology, and I just don't remember what Windows recovery environment. Yeah, I knew that part. WinRE, Scott. It's the name of the disk. I'm going to look it up. It's going to torture me. It's just called Recovery Drive now. Oh, God. Yeah. You need a USB drive that has at least half a gig on it, which is easy to do these days. And you can also put a backup on there. And so that's the first thing you need. But you boot off of that drive, that thumb drive, and you boot, it's like advanced options. That's it. You click on advanced options, and then it's like it's the menu selection, or maybe you just hit advanced options, and the menu comes up, and it's safe mode. And all you got to do is do that, and you'll be in good shape. Alice doesn't know what Atari is. Please tell me you're joking. Brendan S. Do we have to use dynamic DNS when utilizing port forwarding? Yes, you have to use dynamic DNS when utilizing port forwarding, but only if you want to use a DNS name. So it's dynamic DNS will allow you to, say you got a camera behind the NAT firewall, NAT router, you can still get to that with port forwarding, right? But you'd have to type in the WAN IP address of your router, and then usually colon and then some port number. With dynamic DNS, you can do clever things like, I've got 3 cameras, so I'm going to call one camera 1, the other one's going to be camera 2, the other one's going to be camera 3, and you can go to any web browser anywhere in the world and type in camera1.mikesdomain.com and hit enter, and it'll take you to the first camera. That's all dynamic DNS does. Dynamic DNS keeps track of the IP address on the WAN side of your router, which can change unless you have a static IP address, which very few of us do. Most of us have a DHCP address to our router. I know that's weird, and a lot of people are like, that doesn't make sense. DHCP is what I use for my individual computers. Nope. Routers can use DHCP just as well. And so that address can change from time to time. So dynamic DNS is usually manifest as something that's sitting in your router that will phone home to, there's a bunch of companies that do dynamic DNS. If you buy an ASUS router, you get a free ASUS, it's like myasus.com, so it'd be like camera1.michaelm.myasus.com, stuff like that. But you don't have to. If you want to make sure you know what the IP address for the WAN side of your router, you're in Denver and you're trying to call home to Dallas, as long as it doesn't change, no, you don't have to. Honestly, when I'm doing port forwarding, a lot of times I do not use dynamic DNS, but mainly because I always forget to set it up. Okay, 256 Tolowit. When I booted my PC yesterday, right before it went into Windows, screen went black, okay. Then it looked like static. Then it flashed a few colors before going to login screen. What would cause that? Almost guarantee that you've got bad video RAM is my quick guess on that. The other possibilities is going through a number of different resolutions, which is rare and weird. But my quick guess is that you've got a graphics card, or if you're using shared memory on a built-in graphics, that is messed up. The other possibility is that the card isn't seated well. It's probably something really simple like that, Tolowit. Could also be a short. Those are my quick guesses. Ulysses Pies, what do you think about the Microsoft certs? I think if you want to become a Windows system administrator, you want to get working with Windows networks, you want to be comfortable with domain controllers, most of all this stuff is cloud-based anyway. Not that it makes any difference anymore, whether it's on a cloud or whether it's sitting in a closet down the hall, there really doesn't make any difference in terms of Windows administration, then I think those are fine. Edwin, I passed both exams, 301. I feel like am I just talking that much? So I have my A+. Edwin, congratulations. Big round of applause to you, sir. Well done. Orange Yoshi, what's the difference between CYSA and CASP? They're basically levels of complexity. Hang on. My problem is I always forget, is it CYSA and then CASP, or is it CASP then CYSA? Mm-hmm. Grr. Hang on. Yeah, I know I should have this stuff memorized. I don't. Whoo! Expensive vouchers. Okay. So it's Security Plus, CYSA, and then CASP Plus. You would be surprised that the number of topics that come from Security Plus to CYSA Plus to CASP. I took the CASP when it first came out, and it mopped the floor with me. It was very difficult. What made it particularly challenging was the, God, what was it? It was hard. But the difference is it's basically the same type of topicality, but it just gets into more and more detail. All of the certs have a high degree of technical aspect to it. The Security Plus is probably by far the least technical, and there's a lot of technical stuff on that. Like, for example, all 3 exams go into forensics. It's just how deep do they go into forensics. Yeah. Hey, man, Tolowitz giving Mr. Aldolero some suggestions. Nothing wrong with that, man. I make no claim to have all the answers to all the stuff. Documentation, what is the best practice? It really would depend on what exam you're talking about. Mr. Pais, there's different answers. There's the troubleshoot, you use, for A+ and Net+, you're going to be talking about the troubleshooting processes, which documentation is the last and most important step. However, the troubleshooting processes between A+ and Net+ are slightly different. For Security Plus, when you're going to be talking about documentation, we're going to be talking about forensics documentation, incident response documentation, change management documentation, security agreement documentation. There is no way I can answer the question based on that question that you gave me. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight. Sean Holmes at 313. Dynamic DNS is great if you don't have a static IP. It is great. It makes it easy to remember. It's just a lot easier to remember camera1.brendans.whatever.com. Dyna DNS was a service I used for a long time. dynadns.org. Make sure that's still got. Is that still there? No. Yeah, these things change a lot. Most of the time, the dynamic DNS service I'm going to use usually comes built into the routers now, and they give you like 5 or 6 options or more. Mr. Sharp Side EFX. What is the best way to construct a resume if you're in the middle of a career transition and you've got a college degree in something completely unrelated? First of all, the college degree in something unrelated wouldn't make any effect at all. You list your education like you always would. The best way to construct a resume if you're in the middle of a career transition, that's none of their business. I guess what you're trying to say is you're looking for a new job, a new kind of job, right? Okay. We've got some really great examples of that. About 2 months ago, maybe even 3 months ago now, we did a couple of sessions just on how to build a resume. And I recommend you find those. Scott Jernigan, can you help us by any chance for Mr. Sharp, EFX? If you could put that link up so take a look at it. We've already covered that. And I don't mind covering it again, but I think we've done a really good job. I'd rather you watch those 2 videos. There was one in particular. There were two videos. And watch those and then come back with questions. And if you want to, you can publish your resume to us and we'll beat it up for you online. Sean Holmes, CYSA is less than a CISSP. To me, a CISSP is going to be much more. Sean, I don't know where you're coming from on that. I've never taken the CISSP, although I got offered to write a CISSP book. Can you believe that? CISSP, in my understanding, is much more of a management type of certification. It's not technical. But Sean, I'm not going to challenge you on that. But yeah, there you go. Tolowit, is there any advantage to using an AMD GPU if you're running an AMD CPU? Well, as long as you don't have an AMD APU. An AMD CPU with the built-in graphics is called an APU, guys. Is there any advantage? No, not really. I literally am totally addicted to NVIDIA these days. You know, the thing that always bothers me about graphics is that unless you're really doing something to push it, the vast majority of people are wasting their time on these higher end enthusiast graphics cards. I mean, you know, most people are opening up web browsers and watching YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I don't think that kind of world needs it. We're running Microsoft Office. You know, you've got to be gaming. You've got to be doing graphics development. You know, you've got to be doing animation, video work, something to rationalize these higher end cards, because otherwise the built-in graphics are fine. Why go spend an extra $300 to $900 on something unless you're going to use it? Hey, Mike, on your Udemy courses, can you list what exam objective with topic, or do I miss it? Is it there? I don't think it is there, but I don't, the Xerxes, I can't lean on that, and Udemy doesn't have a mechanism for me to really do that the way I want. But where we certainly do that is on the total testers. And to me, man, using Udemy videos with the total tester, they track pretty much identically, chapter by chapter, and they're really a great way to go. And in the total tester, we do give you very detailed information like that. So that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to go buy some practice questions, which are 50% off today. And just use the code NOV. Oh, Scott, what was it? NOV 2020. I forgot. Scott will put it back up one more time. Can you put that back up? we sell practice questions. And, you know, everybody needs practice questions. You don't have to use mine. I think I've got the best practice questions out there. And we've got them 50% off. All you got to do is go to www.totalsem, TOTALSEM.com. Head over to our merchant area, and you can get 50% off our A+, Net Plus, or our A+, Net Plus with the performance-based questions. And we also have just the Security Plus practice questions for 50% off. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm the cheapest of the good practice questions out there, and we're giving them 50% off just because you're nice enough to show up today. And Scott will put all that information back there on the chat if you're interested at all. Yeah, Xerxes, I apologize. I see what you're asking for, and it's just what you're asking me to do is an unreal amount of work that we just can't do. And plus, we have them in the practice questions, so we got to do it. But, you know, we'll always keep these things in mind. And there's Scott Jernigan. Thank you, Scott, for putting up the links for the getting a job and the resume stuff. Yes, crypto mining. That's a good one. But seriously, Xerxes, is anybody running crypto mining using old school GPUs? Isn't everybody on ASICs these days? I guess they work. Armix NFAK. Which security certificate is on peak of Security Expert Technical? CompTIA Security Plus. Sorry, man, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me there, my brother. I apologize. I don't mean to make a joke, but peak of Security Expert Technical. Security Plus. Okay. There you go. Kelvin Tran's backing me up that CISSP is more of a, much more of a management kind of thing. Hang on a minute. One moment, please. All right. Looks like the questions are slowing down a little bit, so let's have a competition. As opposed to me trying to pull questions out of my rear end, I'm actually going to go over to the Total Tester, and I am going to pull up some questions from the Total Tester. You guys want to have a competition? Let's do this. It's 3:30. Let's see if we can get 3 competitions in quickly. All right. All right, guys, let's start the competition. Here we go. Now, what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling up practice questions from our Total Tester. So I see you guys all typing in port numbers. We're not going to do that this time. It's going to be a little harder. So here's how this works, kids. What we do is I will ask a question, and then I will tell you these are multiple choice. So I'll give you what your multiple choice answers are. And then the first person who writes down the right answer wins. So what I'm going to do for starters, though, is I'm not going to tell you what the 4 answers are. Because I know people like Tolowit and Elbow, they're just going to type, I'll say cheese, and they'll type cheese. So that's not fair, okay? So what we're going to do for starters is I'm just going to say what the question is, and then I'm going to see who can get the closest. What? Hang on. All right. Guys, get the idea? All right, so I want to find some questions that are a little bit easier to... Okay, you guys ready? So, yeah, all right, very funny. So, I'm going to take the... I'm going to just say the question, and then I'm not going to give you the answers. I'll do that eventually, but I want to see if anybody can get the answer. So these are multiple choice questions. But I want to see if anybody can get it without knowing the multiple choice questions first. And the prize is a dream date with Mike. No, same as always, free practice questions. Who said they needed practice questions? Here's your shot. So, all right. So you'll get a choice of either the A+, the Net+, or Security Plus practice questions. How's that sound? All right, you guys ready? Here we go. So these are A+ kind of questions. So, Alice, the network tech, has to knock down a network printer. The printer's running, but she's got to do some maintenance on it. What is the first thing that technician Alice needs to do before she starts working on the printer? Go. What is the first? It's a network printer, okay? We have a winner, Jason Primavera. Yes, absolutely. The first thing you do whenever you're working on actually almost any network device is you inform the users before you do anything else. Jason Primavera, you're the first winner today. So Jason, in order to secure your prize, what you need to do is send an email to kathyy at totalsem.com and tell her that you're a winner and that you want access to either the A+, Network Plus, or Security Plus practice test bank. And don't anybody else try to use Jason's, because Kathy Yale is very good at catching you guys. Let's do it again. All right, Jason, be a nice guy. I want you to bow out for the rest of them. Too easy. I've got to find a question that's not so incredibly... Okay, this one's harder. Okay. You guys ready for the second one? Here we go. All right, here we go. So a user's got a smartphone. It's a company-issued smartphone. But they have access to it. They can, update it, whatever they want to do. It's not locked down, is all I'm trying to say. And over the course of the day, the smartphone just keeps getting slower and slower. The battery time accelerates worse as the day progresses. Now, if the user does a restart on the smartphone, then it runs great. But after a while, it starts to go down and down and down. What is the biggest problem it is? We have a winner, Alice Pottsy. All right, Alice, absolutely. what's happening here is the user's just, there's probably not a lot of RAM on the smartphone, and they're loading more and more apps, and it's just slowing down. The big clue was that if the user rebooted it, that was the #1 clue. All right, Alice Spotsy, congratulations. You're the second winner of today's competition. Alice, in order to receive your prize, you have to send an email to Kathy, and that's Kathy with a K, by the way, Kathyy. Scott Jernigan's got it all printed out there for you. And just tell her which one you want, A+, Net Plus, or Security Plus. Actually, Scott Jernigan, we could give out CASP or CYSA just as well, couldn't we? Scott, what do you think? I'm going to wait till Scott Jernigan responds here, guys. Oh, Patricia, you just got here, so I guess you're going to have to find out later how you can all get $1,000 for free. Okay, so guys, I'm going to, Jason and Alice, I'm going to sweeten this pot for you. If you guys want like CYSA or CASP, we can give you access to those just as well. I'm pretty sure. If Kathy Yale yells at me, I think we're fine though, but well done. In fact, that was so much fun. It's still early enough. Let's do one more and then we'll wrap it up for the day. Keep in mind, guys, I'm still glad to ask questions. Remember, the goal is we work till 4 o'clock my time or until the questions end, so whichever comes first. Just because we're doing a little fun competition, that doesn't mean you can't continue to ask questions. Krampus Dumpling, I just love that name. Sounds like something out of Willy Wonka. Hey Mike, I remember learning about but never implementing reservations. Why would reserve an IP? Is it just something like a printer that has devices point to it? Krampus, are you talking about DHCP pool reservations? I'm going to... Krampus, you are. Okay. Personally, I think that so you're setting up a address pool of IP addresses you want to pass out on your DHCP server. The only reason I would use reservations is because you've got something like perhaps a printer that has been locked down for so long that changing its IP address will make a headache for you. To me, a properly configured network, you never use reservations because you set aside blocks of IP addresses, like in my world, usually from .10 to .19 on smaller networks. I set that off to the side for things like cameras and printers and stuff like that. Servers, .1 to .9 is usually going to be switches and routers and IDS boxes and VPN concentrators. So if you have a good organization up front, then you should never ever use an IP reservation. The reason you end up using an IP reservation is because you're walking into an existing network and the DHCP is screwed up 8 ways to heaven, and you're stuck with a couple of printers or an old file server or something that everybody just knows that it's 192.168.14.44. And if you change that, you're going to cause great pain and gnashing of teeth. So that would be about the only time I would ever use an IP reservation. I swear to God, I'm going to bring in a pair of yoga pants. And it's going to say like juicy on my butt just to torture you guys. Why do I hear people screaming? Why do I hear it? It's like a great loss in the force. Nah, we got one more competition to do. Yeah, the cats are on strike. They're pissed at me for something. I don't know what I did. Jack! Kitty! Kitty! We're negotiating our contracts. I swear to God, Patricia Grace is going to wake up at 2 in the morning with a vision of Mike Meyers wearing yoga pants that say juicy in pink across my butt. Okay, I'm going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with that terrifying thought. You poor Raymond, you're right. Somebody walk in, I'm like, Kitty! All right, let's do one more competition. I like these A+ questions, mainly because I haven't looked at them for a while. Ooh, this is a good one. Oh, I got it wrong. Okay. You guys ready? Here comes the third question. I'll give you a clue. It's cloud computing. Which of the following, and guys, whatever this says is right, okay? Which of the following is a scalable service in cloud computing that can be expanded as usage requires? It's a service that all cloud computing people offer, which basically says as demand increases, we can expand your capacity. I'll give you a clue. The word expanding is not in there. No, it's not like IaaS or any of those things. And this is a common industry term in cloud computing. I'll give you a clue. They can do it very, very quickly. U4 Rayman, you're close, but you're not there. Guys, read what U4 Raymond said and add a word. All right, Mr. Sharp, I'll give it to you. Rapid elasticity, that is exactly right. Rapid elasticity basically means, like, for example, here in the United States, during American football season, the demand for like NFL.com shoots up dramatically, but it will also drop dramatically. So they have what's called rapid elasticity is the proper term that shows how you can, because of cloud computing, you can spin up more instances, you can geographically locate them, whatever you need to do, and that's called rapid elasticity. And Mr. Sharp, I'm going to give it to you even with the typo because I know you're doing it right. Mr. Sharp, all the information is right there for you. Scott Jernigan has shown you. You have to send an email to kathyy@totalsem.com and tell her which one you want. A+, Net Plus, Security Plus. I'm going to throw in CASP and CYSA Plus. Those are also good practice test banks. And whatever you guys want. All right. Now keep in mind these are online, so we only run them for you get free for 90 days, I think is what Kathy's been setting them up. Maybe 180. But that's about it. Okay, well done to you, Mr. Sharp. Excellent, excellent. And congratulations to our 3 winners. And well done. All right, guys, we've got about 18 more minutes. Have we covered all the bases for today? Okay, well, it looks like we have. Listen, guys, keep on studying. Remember, if you have any time you need to contact me, feel free to send me an email, michaelm@totalsem.com. I was so thrilled to hear about people who were passing, even although one person did just barely miss, but that's okay. You need to keep studying, guys. This is the time. Corona's spiking up again, and it could be a bit of a challenge. Oh, yeah. So keep studying. Also, do keep in mind, I'll be back on Wednesday. Friday, Dave Rush will be on with his Raspberry Pi magic. Also, do keep in mind that we have there is a Discord channel. This Discord channel is not an official channel of Total Seminars or of Michael Meyers or Scott Jernigan or Dave Rush or anybody else. However, it is a fun group of people, except for Andre. And I'm kidding, Andre. You're my favorite Belgian. Just keeps getting funnier. But Scott Jernigan, you put out fantastic. This is very unofficial. A lot of the people you see on here are also on the Discord channel, except their cameras are working. There's some scary human beings out there. But you are always welcome to jump in. It seems that those who are doing this Discord channel tend to want to do it immediately after I quit this thing, and people tend to pop right back on. I am not able to join today. I am buried with work, but I guarantee you come Wednesday I'll be on there. Also, do keep in mind that if whoever the moderators are for that Discord channel, if they want to set hours or something, I'll see what I can do about personally getting on too. Anyway, it's a great source. If you are all at all interested, feel free to join those. Andre, they're not going to be pink yoga pants. They're going to be black, but it's going to say juicy across the rear end. Just for you, Andre. Yes, chapter 8, Scott. I'm on it. All right. Anyway, guys, it looks like a shorter day. Nothing wrong with that. Glad to see we're all moving along in that world. So I'm going to take off. I will be back here Wednesday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. And until then, I am out of here. So this is your little Uncle Mikey saying good night. Good night. There's my sign off.